One's ready. One's ready. Go! So you guys are going into special warfare assessment selection. It is an attributes-based selection model. What does that mean?
Guys, are we running right now to get fitter? Are we practicing running? Practicing.
I can't freaking...
So there's a holistic picture that we're looking for. The instructors are giving you input, and we're expecting an output. And everything is for a reason. If you guys haven't heard my spiel yet, everything that we do, every single exercise, has a connection to the job that you're trying to do. We don't want people at INDOC, Special Warfare Assessment Selection, whatever they're gonna call the new course when it inevitably changes somewhere down the road. I don't care what they call it. What I need is you to show me the raw materials for the things that I wanna build you into. Just like everything else, it's a crawl, walk, run.
I'm running keys just like this. All the way to ATC, you never quit. All the way to ATC, you never quit.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. You're in the team room and this is your daily drop for the 30th of September. A little different. I know I'm doing it in my office, so you're not going to get the B-roll footage, but I kind of need my computer in front of me, so I'm going to have to look down at it. Not much going on in news today. It's been pretty slow, and I know that it's, Tuesday and I've missed, Monday, Friday, Thursday, whatever day it is, right? So, but the biggest thing in the news right now, at least that I think that we need to talk about and get it out there, are some highlight sections from the Secretary of Defense or the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and President of the United States, Donald Trump. Just key in on some of the things that they said and just kind of give you my readout of it for what it's worth, because you get exactly what you pay for with this. It's free. So if you're stuck, well, you're not stuck, but it would be great if you subscribed so that you were stuck. And then while you're at it, if you can go over to onesready.com, top right-hand side where it says prep, and then go down to partner discounts, scroll down to see the second one where it says Atacklete. Atacklete is where we get all our gear from. It's all the same gear that is used in the pipeline. So your rocket fins, if you're going to buy rocket fins, by the way, make sure you buy booties. So you're going to need booties, high volume mask, snorkel. They've got rope for knot tying. They've got Alice rucks and all that kind of stuff. So what will happen is when you go to our site and you go click on any of those hyperlinks, it's going to take you to their site. And as long as you don't have pop-up blockers enabled, it's going to generate a code for you to use so that you can get some money off. We all need to save money at this point. So that is kind of the deal that we have set up with Atacklete. Now we've been with them for, better part of 3 years now, maybe even longer. And they've been great to us. And hopefully we've been great to them. But they will be great for you. So, all right. Last thing, as well as we still have slots remaining. We had a couple people, I'll say pull out, but I'll just say they quit. We had a couple people quit because they didn't realize how hard the pipeline is actually going to be, and said that special warfare wasn't for them. So, and you know what? That's actually great for a couple of reasons. One is they're not trying to fool themselves. They're not trying to fool anybody else. It's not for everybody. I mean, it really isn't for everybody. And can everybody do it? Sure. Everybody that, qualifies for the Air Force, can they do it? Absolutely they can. Not everybody should though. And if you're not doing it for the right reasons, if you're doing it for somebody else or doing it because you think you want to do something, then that's just not the right way to go with it. And so, taking it a different direction and right on, because you're still serving your country, and I'm all for it. So, although it may have sounded like I was throwing shade at you, I am going to give you jabs for quitting, but it's better this way, just because you don't waste the time of your recruiter, your developer, any of the cadre that are there. This is what it is. So, yeah, we still have slots available now. A couple more opened up for the Nashville Training Summit. If you guys are interested, leave us a comment, or you can reach me at jared@onesready.com, and I'll get you the info out there. Time is coming up though, so if you're going to have to buy plane tickets and all that kind of stuff to get to Nashville, probably sign up sooner rather than later. And we are going to have another one, since all the shifts and everything like that. We are going to have another one Location and time, or dates rather, is to be determined, but we're going to try and quick turn an operator training summit. So, all right. So let's start off with Secretary of Defense or Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. So all of this, could it have been an email? I know BK Actual, I saw on his X account, he's like, yeah, okay, cool. This could have been an email. And yes, could it have been an email? Sure. Is it important that it wasn't, though, because it shows the seriousness of it? It shows the priorities of the president, priorities of the Secretary of War, to have all general officers drop what they're doing, hop on a plane, come out to D.C., be on a pretty aggressive timeline. They all had to report in at 2 a.m., I think, at the Pentagon, and then hop on a convoy of buses down to Quantico. You know, I think that, to me, that sends a pretty clear and direct message that this is serious. This is not effing around or anything like that. It's to be taken serious. So, yeah, sure, it could have been an email, but does your message really get across over an email? And to all of you people out there that, you know, prefer or that are online and receive emails and you live in an office environment and stuff like that, how much credence do you actually give to a BS email? When the Secretary of the Air Force sends out one of their memos, or a major commander sends out one of their policy memos, or an email to the force, do you guys actually read it? So I think that this was important to do, and I agree with it, especially at this time of year, you know, at the end of the fiscal year when there's not that much money to go around. So I like it. So the Secretary opened up by declaring, quote, the era of Department of Defense is over, renaming it the War Department. Obviously, we're going to have to wait on Congress to solidify that, but I can tell you right now that all of the letterheads and everything that we have been utilizing now is Secretary or Department of War. So it'll take a little bit to get it out, the DOD out, which is still an approved term, but Department of War is now the new term, or it will be when Congress actually gets off their ass and does something. Another one was warning to adversaries, FAFO, fuck around and find out. So I think that's, right in line with 2025 and where we should be. And there's a whole lot of FAFO going around. And honestly, I'm here for it. I prefer the FAFO, and I think we need more of it, honestly. All right, next. He accused past leadership and politicians of allowing decades of decay, and those are his words, decades of decay, in steering the military off course. I think that that's probably undeniable at this point. If you are still serving or you recently served, you can see the decrease of mission command, the decrease of trust in commanders, the decrease of, hey, you're supposed to trust the guy on the ground. You're supposed to trust the commander who's on the ground closest to the problem. That has gotten stripped or decreased significantly. Risk assumption, or not risk assumption, but risk adverseness, that is increased tenfold. Everybody is so risk adverse and scared to make a decision about things because I might get fired. I might make the wrong decision. I might get my ass chewed out for making the wrong decision. I might impact my unit. Listen, there's been a serious paralysis by analysis and people scared to make decisions. And so the decay, that's just one part of it. And Aaron, I just got done editing and I released the episode where Aaron was talking about culture change. And that is a small, 25-minute section of a 2-hour podcast that's released to members only right now, which will go public here pretty soon. And he kind of talks about that decay and is the military in need of a culture change? And I think it is. And I think this might be the kind of beginning of it or the attempt to try and make it happen. But, the decay of the military has for sure happened. And we have great people that are serving, and we have great people that want to serve and that will continue to serve. But I mean, for some of you folks that have been in a while, probably 10, 15, 20 plus years, you can't sit here and tell me that we are in a better place policy wise, culturally wise than we were when you first came in. And if I'm wrong, like hit me in the comments. Like, let me know if you think that we are in a better spot now culturally, discipline, good order, discipline, all that kind of BS, right? Are we in a better place now than we were when you first came in? Maybe we are. Maybe that's what you think. Certainly open to your opinions. I'm here to get corrected if that's the case. All right. Next one was a strong push to eliminate woke policies. So he slammed DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion efforts, and identity-based promotion systems. Completely agree. I think that anybody that promotes that stuff is out of their freaking mind, and that we've got to get rid of them. I mean, I think that's where we're at, and I think that's kind of a no-brainer. I'm sure, and I know that there are people that would argue against that, but that's kind of where we're at. And we are purging that, which is really nice. Calls the military the woke department in the past years, and how it's not that anymore, which I agree. Now, the part about it that, and I actually had this conversation this morning. One of the issues with the whole DEI and the woke thing was that there were sweeping changes, sweeping cuts across the board, just because it makes it easier, right? And the reason why it makes it easier is because take the hiring freeze or the hiring freeze or contract issues or with the Doge in terms of contracts, these millions upon millions of dollars that are spent. If they were to go in individually and try and go like, okay, this person, this position, this contract, this return on investment, whatever you want to call it, this delivery from the contract, like everybody would say how important this person or this position or this contract is. Everybody would sit here and just, no, you can't cut that. You can't cut that. So instead of nickel and diming and we would never get anything done and we'd never get anything cut, they just went in and said, you know what? We're doing a hiring freeze. We're cutting positions and we're cutting contracts. No, like the only ones that'll get saved are by exception, or you got to submit an exception to policy. Now, some got saved even without an exception to policy because they were no-fail kind of things, especially when we start talking about operations and security and stuff like that. But, I mean, how many child development centers are out there that are so undermanned and active duty can't put their kids into the child development center, like daycares, if you guys aren't familiar with that in school, because they are hurting on federal workers. So like that's some of that whole, you got to break some eggs to make an omelet kind of thing. And it's unfortunate because it is people's lives. But if we're trying to right size the federal government, it's probably something that needs to get done. All right. Let's see. Fitness and grooming and personal standards. He railed on that quite a bit. Fitness tests. Oh, let me go back to the cutting real quick. So there was something that was cut called and I'm going to mess it up. It's WIT, W-I-T. So it's like Women's Integration Team or something like that, right? And that got dubbed as DEI. Now, talking to some folks here that I work with who are women that are familiar with what the WIT team was doing. And I don't know all the projects they were working on or anything like that, but I know one project was, flight vests for like pilots. They have to wear a vest that has a C-cell radio in it and survival stuff. All they had was men's versions. They didn't have any women's versions that were tailored and to fit differently. The WIT was working on that or did complete that. There was the, like travel porta potty kind of things that they worked for women. Like that was a good thing. They did some good things, but it got categorized as DEI and woke and that kind of stuff. So and maybe there were things that they did that were like, there were some things that like the Athena program did that were pretty, in my opinion, not great. Like it kind of flopped. But that doesn't mean that it's a one size fit all by any means. You know, women do probably need their own body armor that fits their body type. We already have uniforms that are that way. It makes sense to have pilots with their flight vests be customized to them, or at least to man and woman. So, yeah. And that's just one of the kind of unfortunate parts about when you do sweeping cuts and sweeping changes and sweeping policy. All right. Fitness, grooming, and personnel standards. Fitness tests are to a uniformed benchmark. It is gender neutral. This should have been the case right out the gate, especially when you start talking about your combat arms related career fields. I mean, man, I can't tell you how many general officers and politicians stuck their nose into Air Force Special Warfare, NSW or Navy Spec War, Army Special Forces, telling us, and I mean, you heard about the wild shit that happened at range school. You heard about the wild shit that happened at Air Force Special Warfare training. Like, so, and by the wild shit, I mean the accommodations, like special training, additional training, special accommodations to enable, really force people into jobs and positions that they had no business being in. So daily physical training, more rigorous discipline. Now, maybe because I'm spoiled at being Air Force Special Warfare, or was retired, obviously. I'm a former action guy, also known as the FAG. But we had daily PT every single day. We were allotted 2 hours every single day to work out. That is difficult for maintainers. That is difficult for security forces. That is difficult for jobs like that are working what are called 12-hour shifts, but actually end up being like 14-hour shifts. So what I'd like to see based off of this daily training is that it is allotted as part of your day. If the military is requiring you to meet a fitness test, if the military is requiring you to be physically fit, then it should allot you the time to do so, not taking it out of your family time or time that you have to do errands and stuff like that. If it's being made as part of the duty day, it should be incorporated. So that means that hopefully that your maintainers, your security forces, and so on are going to have to start shifting their schedule to allow for more PT time. There's a ban on permanent beard waivers, not on beard waivers, on permanent beard waivers. No more beardos is what he had to say, which is pretty damn funny. He also mentioned chair force or something like that, I think, too. I can't remember the exact word he said. I'm pretty sure he said chair force or chair warrior or something like that. But women must conform to stricter standards. So for the beard thing, it's the key word being permanent. It just means that if you are on a temporary beard waiver, that you just have to revisit it every whatever that is, whether it's every year, 6 months, whatever. So if you want a beard, you're going to have to work for it, is what they're saying. I'm not saying I agree with that. I actually would, obviously, I'm rocking a beard now. I would love for us to be on a little bit more relaxed grooming standards. On the other hand, it does make sense when you talk about a force that is 340,000 people strong. It is easier to go, this is the standard, right? This is the standard, not like we have 10 different standards. So if the standard is no beards, then it's no beards. Criticism of fat generals and general overweight in officer ranks, calling it unacceptable. I can completely agree. Up yours, Fat Tony. And I hope you were there, and I hope you felt personally attacked by his words. Now, do I think that generals should be on GLP-1? Yes. I think that we are better off to have generals or enlisted or whatever that are overweight that need to get to a certain point to take GLP-1. with their weight loss, and GLP-1 is Ozempic or anything like that, right? So the reason why is because, and there's actually a really good video on this that I forget what his name is that did it, but if somebody is overweight and it precludes them from going into the gym and running and stuff like that because they've got injury on their knees from all the extreme weight gain, getting them down to a certain weight to help enable that exercise is good. Getting them down to a certain weight that maybe it triggers something in their brain, that's good. GLP-1 will also help prevent type 2 diabetes and that kind of stuff. So getting them healthier to help me maybe give them a kickstart. So I'm actually okay with that. All right. This one was on dissent. If officers feel their hearts sink hearing these changes, Hegseth said they should resign. Agreed. In reality, we really need a purge of general officers anyway. We've got too many of them, especially the Air Force. Structural and process changes, overhaul on how misconduct, discrimination, and complaints were handled, IG equal opportunity offices. That kind of goes into the DEI and the woke spaces. If you guys didn't know, what we have are things called letters of counseling, letters of admonishment, and letters of reprimand. In those, you are required to send additional metadata to the legal office and to equal opportunity when you are handing out a piece of counseling, a piece of paper. And it all has to include things like race, gender, ethnicity, all those kind of like demographical things, because they wanted to, and that policy has not changed, as far as I'm aware, because they wanted to track and see if counseling and punishment was being handed out fairly. To which they found out that it obviously was, and moving on, hopefully. All right. Next one, he invoked the Gulf War as a model for what military efficiency and decisiveness should look like. Yeah, that goes back to what I was talking about earlier in terms of getting back to the military that we used to have, where it was less risk adverse. Mission command was pushed down to the lowest levels, believing the commander on the ground who's closest to the problem, that kind of thing. All right. That's kind of the recap of what Secretary of War Pete Hegseth said, and then we'll move on to President of the United States, Donald Trump, and then we will close it out. All right. Donald Trump said, if I don't like somebody, I'm going to fire them on the spot. That might seem harsh, but that's actually pretty realistic in the real world. So to give you an example, for a guard unit that is trying to hire somebody full-time guard or even part-time guard, they are the ones that do the interviews. Not like the recruiter does all the other stuff, but they are the ones that are going to do the interview. And what are they primarily looking for? Somebody who's not an asshole. Somebody who has the potential to pass Air Force Special Warfare. Somebody who they can stand to be around. Not somebody who stinks, who's an asshole, who, is an absolute prick. They're not going to hire that person because they know that once they hire them, they're stuck with them. So it's pretty consistent with the rest of the world. If you don't like somebody, you're going to fire them if you have that ability to. Another one was, if you don't like what I'm saying, you can leave the room. There goes your rank. There goes your future. I mean, that's aligned with anything and everything that President Trump has said in the past to his military and to his staff, to anybody on The Apprentice. All right, he endorsed Secretary of War's agenda, saying he echoed the push to eliminate DEI and diversity initiatives within the military. Yep, that all checks. That's not a surprise. Some of the broader themes were attacks on media, criticism of Biden, commentary on tariffs, nuclear weapons, and even references the renaming of the Pentagon to the Department of War, pending Congress, of course. We talked about that. He referred to the meeting as a morale boost, defended by the cost of flying so many generals in. So we kind of talked about that. Yeah, it could have been an email, but it sends a clear message to the military and to the world that, hey, I'm taking this serious and this messaging is serious. Well, let's see, what else? So the overall tone and reaction is generals remain largely silent. If you guys, and I saw this on X before coming on here, people were like, oh my God, it's the silence is deafening in the room with the generals, being silent. Well, that's them having military bearing, staying professional, and staying apolitical. You freaking dipshits. They're supposed to be politically neutral. That was one of the things that was going on prior to all this, right? Is the politicization of the military, and the leaders were getting out of line. Not just leaders. You got this idiotic captain veteran that's trying to run for Congress up in Illinois. I think the 13th district or something like that. The guy's a complete freaking jackwagon. And I tell you what, you guys should be asking yourselves, when you have a guy that was a 13-year captain and is now out, why did somebody who served, especially in the Army for 13 years, should be well above a captain. They should be a major or a lieutenant colonel at that point. A captain, that dude was a complete screw-up or got in trouble or just a complete imbecile, which, judging by some of the stuff he says online, that all checks. Let's see. The speech was described as meandering, veering into non-military subjects, per the Washington Post. Of course, that's what Trump does. If Trump goes off teleprompter, off script, he's going to wander all over the place. That's who he is. And that's, frankly, that's me too. If I don't have a script, then you guys know this because you've been watching me long enough. I'm everywhere. And then I lose my place. And then I rant. And then I lose my place. I'm an idiot. What do you want from me? So there you go. Anyway, that's it for the Daily Drop. Appreciate you guys being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. And yeah, we're good here. Just appreciate you guys being here. All right.